Welcome back to With the First Pick in this edition of The Perfect Fix. Let's fix the old Cleveland Browns. Let's do it. Let's talk about what went wrong, how easy or incredibly difficult it will be to fix all this stuff in Cleveland. We're going to break it all down, how the Browns got here, who stays, who goes, and if this outfit can look more like the 11-win teams, plural, Kevin Stefanski coached up in 2020 and 2023 than the dysfunction we've seen the last two seasons when the Browns can't seem to get out of their own way each and every week. I'm Ryan Wilson. That's former Titans GM Rand Carthon. Before we get going here, Browns fans, let us know in the comments. Where would you start with this Browns team? What's the first step in this long journey to fix this mess? Is it the front office? Is it the coaching staff? Is it a player you think could be critical in terms of turning this thing around? Let us know, because I read every single comment, and I'll answer a lot of them. Be kind if you want. If you choose not to because you're angry about the Brown situation, I understand, and I won't hold it against you. All right, Rand, so how did we get here? I'd say going all the way back to the decision to move on from Baker, because Baker and Stefanski had some success early on. Things seemed to deteriorate down the end. That's not the only reason. Baker had to make a few other stops before he found himself. The other issue is the offensive line injuries. They don't have a wide receiver one. Jerry Jeudy is probably more a wide receiver three, if we're being honest. So that's been a concern. Then the quarterback situation, whether it's going to be Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson, who's now back healthy. All right. Simple question, not a simple answer there, Rand. What are we doing? Let's start with the front office and the coaching staff, because Andrew Berry has absolutely crushed this draft. Kevin Stefanski's a two-time coach of the year. Browns fans do not care. They're fed up once again.
Yeah, I think, for me, like you said, this draft class, this 2025 draft class, Andrew Berry hit it out of the park. I think it's one of the best, if not the best, draft class. I know plenty of people be ready to argue that, but I think Andrew Berry has done a great job from that standpoint. The move that's going to always be held over their head is the Deshaun Watson move, the trade, the compensation. So you gave up a ton of picks, or I'm not going to say a ton of picks. You gave up picks and you paid a NFL record contract to him that you're still tied to. That's going to always come into play when you're talking about their front office. Again, we don't know what all went into that decision making. I was reading some stuff from Paul DePodesta when he left to go to the Colorado Rockies, and his comments in that was like, hey, we all made the decision. We were all in the room.
Hey, let me ask you this, though. If they had won 2 Super Bowls with Deshaun Watson, what would Paul DePodesta's comments have been? That was my decision.
Oh yeah, I did a great job. Honestly, I think it would have been the same publicly. Again, privately, I don't know, because I may have met Paul once, but again, those are the that's one when we're talking about the front office. The head coach is creating. I feel like every time I get on my phone, there's a new video on YouTube about Kevin Stefanski and where he fits with this Browns organization. Again, you talk about it. He's been a two-time head coach of the year. The proof is there in the pudding. But if you're being honest, you have to admit there feels like there's some type of disconnect there right now. So again, those are all conversations for Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, Jimmy and Dee Haslam to have, because now you've removed Paul DePodesta, right? Because if I'm thinking about this properly, it was the Haslams, and then it was DePodesta, and then it was the head coach and GM under there. So now you've removed DePodesta, and so now, like, what is this new structure going to look like? And is that causing some friction? And I don't want to create something, because I've been on the other side of people from the outside creating a narrative that didn't exist on the inside. And that's what everybody chose to run with. And so I don't want to be that person. But again, that's where the conversation is going to start.
Right. All right. I'm going to ask you to speculate here. August 2026, GM and head coach for the Cleveland Browns are?
I'll say Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. I don't think they move on.
All right, so you think Stefanski, because it feels like, just me on the outside looking in, not knowing anything, it feels like Berry might be safer than Stefanski. Just because the way Stefanski's body language on the sidelines each and every week, that's solely what I'm going on, and sort of the disconnect there with the quarterback situation. But you think there's an opportunity for both of them to come back, and I guess the follow up, and then we'll get into this thing before we do. Just generally, can they be successful if they're both coming back?
If they hit on another draft class like they did this past draft class, yes. And they have more bites at the apple this year with 10 draft picks, which we'll get to. But yeah, because they've been successful before.
Yeah.
You don't win 2-time coach of the year because you stink.
Right.
So yes, they can be successful. Now I know successful is subjective. And the scale is different, and it could be different because of the Cleveland Browns and the lack of success that they've traditionally had. But yeah, they can be. But I agree, the body language and what you see on TV speaks different. And so, but yeah, I think they can be successful.
Yeah, no, I
And I'm
understand.
sorry, and you got to remember, last offseason they signed extensions. And
Oh, good point.
you don't know how long those extensions were for, but both head coach and GM signed.
And the other thing we'll
extensions
get
last
through, we'll get
offseason.
into this as we get through it. But this is the first year I think that they now are out from under all the Deshaun Watson salary cap implications. I think they have an opportunity to sort of move on from that. But let's talk about that. All right, let's lean into old Rand's front office experiences here. I'm going to set the table. I want your thoughts. Browns are currently 26 in available cap space, just 8 million under right now, but that can obviously change with the cap gymnastics as we get closer to the end of the season into the spring. Here are some players whose contracts will expire after the season. Not an exhaustive list, but ones that stuck out to me. And you sort of tell me a name or two that sticks out. David Njoku, tight end, is up. And then a ton of offensive linemen: Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, Cam Robinson, Jack Conklin, Ethan Postage, excuse me. So they will probably spend some of that salary cap once they freed up on offensive linemen. Any of those guys that you want to bring back? DeJuan Jones, by the way, I should mention, has been injured. When he's healthy, he'll play either left tackle or right tackle, I would imagine. So they have him for at least 2 more years on his rookie deal, I believe. So what do you think about this group? Anyone that strikes your fancy? And Njoku's been good, but Harold Fannin Jr., the rookie tight end, has been out of this world. He leads the team in receiving, so that could be a plan B there.
I think Joe Bitonio's headed towards retirement. It's just been a long, grueling career for him. He's been a great player. He's been a Pro Bowl caliber player, but he's had a tough go at it. So I could see him headed towards retirement. I would have talks with Wyatt Teller and Ethan Posick about bringing them back. I agree with you. The way Harold Fannin has played, it made Njoku expendable. I know there was conversations that were being had in the media at the trade deadline of, do the Browns move on from David Njoku? Then,
and by the way, sorry to interrupt you, but David Njoku is going to get paid anyway, either way, by somebody, because the way he's at the level at which he's played, I would imagine.
Yeah, he'll be fairly compensated. I'll
10
say
million a year.
Yeah, he'll be in that range.
Okay.
He'll be in that 10 million a year range with some incentives and upside to get north of that. Devin Bush has been a solid player. He's been able to revitalize himself in Jim Schwartz's system, and he's made some plays for him. We'll have a conversation there. One guy, I don't know if you said his name, Shelby Harris, but he's, Shelby's older, but he's been a veteran presence for him. The one thing that stood out to me, obviously, like you said, was with the offensive line. You could be entering an offseason where you're down 4 of your 5 week 1 starting offensive line, because you do, and we'll talk about this when we get to the cap portion of this, because you do have to have a conversation about Jack Conklin.
Okay.
So, you got a decision. He's only played 8 games this year in 2025, and he's never played a full season as a Cleveland Brown.
Right.
So,
all right. Well, then maybe that goes back to those 10 draft picks and trying to figure out what to do there in terms of the 8 million under free agency, salary cap wise. And can you free up more? That could also inform what they want to do next. I'm going to throw some names at you, free agents from other teams that should be available in March if they don't re-sign with their current teams. And you tell me thumbs up or thumbs down. And this name is going to be a popular one. Daniel Jones, 28 years old.
Coming off of the Achilles, I'd say they reach out and have a conversation, but if you're Daniel Jones, why would you want to leave a steady a steady team in the Colts to come here to Cleveland? Now, here's the one part. They're still not under. Deshaun Watson deal was fully guaranteed.
Oh, so I misspoke about them being out from under
Now,
his.
listen, I'll just say, viewers, look into it for us. Jump in the comments, and producer Striker, since you're off camera, you could look into it. But I have his cap number at 80 million.
Oh, sweet.
This
Gee, I was way off on that. Let me check real quick. I thought I
because
saw somewhere that
that
they
was
were.
one he was one of my restructure candidates. Him and Denzel Ward, because Denzel Ward has basically a $33 million cap number.
Oh boy. All right. So 2026, if you release them before June 1st, it's 131 million dead cap hit. If you trade them before June 1st, it's 85 million. And then afterwards, it's 80 million for a release. And after June 1st, it's a 34 million for a trade. Okay. So, oh boy. And then the dead cap in 2027 goes to 50 million. Okay. So, yeah, I misspoke on that. We still got some work to do there. So, all right. We're still in the middle of that. So I apologize for misspeaking. Thank you for correcting me on that. So, oh man, children, don't sign your franchise quarterbacks to long-term guaranteed deals. That would be my only advice to you. All right, so Daniel Jones. Look, Kevin Stefanski has a track record of working with quarterbacks historically, but so does Shane Steichen, and we've seen it work indoors in Indy. So that would be a long shot. Wide receiver one is a huge need for this team. So all these guys I'm going to mention, you tell me if you like any of these guys at the right price. They're all either 28 or 29, different type players, but certainly could contribute. Deebo Samuel is going to be a free agent. Jacoby Myers, who was just traded to the Jaguars, Hollywood Brown, and Jawan Jennings. Any of those guys, or more than one of those guys? Because I feel like if you sign two of those guys, now you're cooking with gas a little bit.
So here's how I will answer that question. Because again, currently you have 8 million in cap space. You're about 25th, 26th, 27th in the league in terms of the available space. But of those names that you mentioned, do those guys want to go play in Cleveland with the uncertainty at quarterback? And if they do go, or will they try to charge a premium price to get them there? And if you're Cleveland, are you willing to pay a premium price? I'm from the ilk with 10 draft picks. You're going to have to draft wide receiver one. I don't think right now you go and you spend, wide receiver one money, because again, are you committed to saying that any of those receivers you name are legitimate wide receiver ones?
No.
And so
Jacoby
that's
Myers
my
might
point.
be a 1A, but he's not going to be a consistent one.
And so I disagree. I don't think Jacoby Myers is 1A, B, or C. And that's not taking anything away from him.
Is he a 2?
Depending on your system. I think in a perfect world, he's a high-end third.
All right. Well, I was off on that one too. I'm having a rough stretch.
But that's just my opinion. I could be dead wrong. I don't know anything. You know what I mean?
Well, he's wide receiver.
I think Jawan Jennings is a wide receiver 3.
Yeah,
because I think that's where he excels. But again, these are all. If you're the Cleveland Browns, why would you want to commit north of 20 million for that when you could just hopefully draft that player?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And Brian Thomas Jr. is currently wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville, so that's not Myers' job there. Travis Hunter were there; they would be splitting 2 and 3, but Travis banged up right now. So I take your point. One other name I want to mention is free agent, and I sort of like this, and maybe there's a bargain to be had. You put him next to your guy Carson Schlesinger. 30-year-old Matt Milano is going to be a free agent.
Well, I'll say this. If I'm the Cleveland Browns, and I know Jim Schwartz would really value a guy like Matt Milano, just because of how smart he is, and you can play him at the mic, you can play him at the wheel. If you played him at the mic, that would free up Schlesinger to just continue to play sideline to sideline. But I know a lot of what they do in that system is based off the mic. You got to remember, potentially you get a JOK back.
Oh, right. I forgot about JOK.
So we'll see where that is.
Good call.
But I wouldn't overpay for Matt Milano because he's just been banged up so much over these last couple of years.
Yeah, 1 year, $5 million deal. You signing that?
Yeah, I would sign him to that because I think the $5 million. I think the player on the field and the person off the field is $5 million is a steal.
Yeah, good call on JOK. Hopefully Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah can get healthy in return as well, because he is perhaps more freakishly athletic than Carson Schlesinger, and the two of those guys in the middle of that defense will certainly be fun to watch. You talked about it, Rand. The Browns have 10 draft picks in 2026, including 2 first-rounders. Currently, as we sit here heading into Week 16, picks 4 and 28. At pick 4, with the understanding that Fernando Mendoza will likely go first overall, whoever ends up with that pick, whether team trades up or not. Dante Moore will be in the draft class. Ty Simpson. Darian Mensah is getting a lot of run now at Duke. We'll see if he declares or not. Is there a quarterback to be had at pick 4?
I don't know that there will be as it currently stands, because we've already slotted our guy Fernando Mendoza. We've already slotted him as the number 1 guy. But if you're the Cleveland Browns, you sit there in 4 and you have the ammo, I'm pretty sure a conversation will be had about going up. Because again, this is not to say anything about Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel, but you have the head coach, the GM, the owner, everybody has to be on the same page as to who and what they want out of this quarterback position. And so that's where at least the conversation will be had about going up and what that's going to cost you. And you also got to think about it too. Like, are we going to be able to protect this guy? Are we going to be able to surround him with players, and what is that going to look like?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And, the Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders thing was curious in the moment, 3rd round, 5th round pick. And then there'll be more questions around that. Should they draft another quarterback here? Dylan's played. He was okay when he played. Shedeur's been, I think, a little better, for being honest, but it hasn't been enough to be like, okay, this is our QB1 for the next 10 years. So those are the things that they're going to have to talk about, as you just pointed out there, Rand. Hey, by the way, in March, usually when we get started on these perfect drafts for each and every team. So we'll circle back and do every single team in the league and do a 7-round mock draft of their team needs and get that exactly right. So you'll know ahead of time what your team needs if you didn't already know. By the way, which leads me to this. Let us know in the comments which free agent we've talked about, either currently in the team or not on the team, you want to see come to Cleveland next year. And if you think a quarterback is in the mix, whether pick 4 or 3 or wherever the Browns end up selecting, or if you'd rather roll with Dylan Gabriel and or Shedeur Sanders. All right, it's that part of the show. Striker, let's hit the drop.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
Listen, man, this team is, as I mentioned, won 11 games twice with Stefanski. 2020, they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs. One of my most demoralizing losses as a Steelers fan. 2023, they also won 11 games when Joe Flacco was summoned off the couch. They went down to Houston. They didn't win that game. But I don't know if it's that far away. And I'll mention it to you again. I think this is going to be sort of something that we talk about. Is this team just a few players away, like a legit offensive lineman or 2, a legit wide receiver 1, quarterback, whether it's on the roster, whether he's on the roster now or not, or is it going to be a longer term situation for Cleveland getting back to the postseason?
I'll just keep it brief and concise, and I'm gonna talk about the previous year's draft class. 7 picks in last year's draft class. Their first 4 picks are all bona fide starters for them. Every member of this draft class has started at least 1 game. So I say that to say, if they can match 2025 success with the 10 picks of 2026, I'll say they are a year away from being a playoff team.
I think that's fair. I mention it all the time, and I'll mention it throughout these perfect fixes. 2023 Houston Texans got it right with the quarterback and the edge rusher, Will Anderson Jr. 2024 Commanders got it right with Jaden Daniels, and those teams immediately went to the playoffs. Jaden Daniels been banged up in 2025, but I don't think you regret the pick in any way, shape, or form if you're the Commanders or if you're a team looking at the Commanders. So we shall see. All right, Browns fans, one last request here. You can hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up. That would be nice. But also let us know how many players away you guys think you are from making this thing happen. And because I know you're a frustrated bunch, but it does feel like they're closer than some other teams that are be picking in the top 10. In the meantime, thanks as always for joining us. Check back often because we're going to fix every single team that misses the playoffs. We'll see you guys in the next one.